Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hello. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Oh, is it Maria Mataji? No, this is Linda. Oh, Hare Krishna. Yeah. Is anybody else on the line? No, this is Linda in Tennessee. Sorry? This is not Govardhan Lila. Well, how are you? Happy New Year. Hello? Yeah. Okay.
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. My glories to Srila Prabhupada and Gurudev. Is Ruchi and who else is on the phone?
Yeah, I'm Ruchi.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Are you back in Chicago yet, Mataji?
Yeah. I came before yesterday. So.
Oh, good. Welcome back.
You know, whenever it reaches the 24-hour Kirtan in Chicago, do you know when is it? The first, like tomorrow, right?
I think it is tomorrow. I think that's what I had heard.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
This is Jila Manjiri Devi Dasi.
Hare Krishna. I believe Rushali was going to read today. Do you know what verse she was reading? I can't remember offhand. Was it 20?
Hare Krishna Mataji. This is Rushali.
Hare Krishna.
Today, you have texted me to read from 20 to 23.
Okay, good. Hare Krishna.
What canto?
Canto 2, chapter 10.
Canto 2.
So, Rushali Mataji, should we get started with the prayers? It's already 5 after 5.
Yes, Mataji.
Om Ajnanasya Jnananjana Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gopamahyam Dadati Swapnantikam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udhirayat Nashtaprayeshu Padresu Nityam Bhagavati Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtaki.
Okay. Hare Krishna. So today we are reading from Canto 2, Chapter 10, Text 20. Nasike nirabhidhayatam dhoyati nabhasvati tatra vayur gandha vaho grano nasi jigrihar. Translation. Thereafter, when the Supreme Purusha desired to smell odors, the nostrils and respiration were generated. The nasal instrument and odors came into existence, and the controlling deity of air, carrying smell, also became manifested. Purport. The nasal instrument, odor, and the controlling deity of air, smelling, etc., all became manifested simultaneously when the Lord desired to smell. The Vedic mantras confirm this statement in the Upanishads statement that everything is first desired by the Supreme before the subordinate living entities can act on it. The living entity can see only when the Lord sees. The living entity can smell when the Lord smells, and so on. The idea is that the living entity cannot do anything independently. He can simply think of doing something independently, but he cannot act indifferently. This independence in thinking is there by the grace of the Lord, but the thinking can be given shape by the grace of the Lord. And therefore, the common saying is that the man proposes and God disposes. The whole explanation is on the subject of the absolute dependence of the living entities and absolute independence of the Supreme Lord. Less intelligent person claims to be on an equal level with God must first prove themselves to be absolute and independent, and then they must substantiate their claim to being one with the God. In this text 20, it again explains this entire chapter of Canto 10, Canto 2, Chapter 10. It is about the Lord is independent being, and we are dependent on Him. And as we already discussed this before, Krishna is Swa Ashraya Shra. So Krishna is his own shelter. He is not dependent on anything, and he has no other shelter. He is the cause of all the causes, and Krishna is Parabrahman. So, and we are dependent on him. And here in this shloka, it is explained that when God first desired to smell, so he created the nostrils and the respirations. So, and the controlling deities, that is Adhyatmic demigods for the controlling deities for the nostrils, for the sense of smelling senses. So when God himself desired, so whatever God can do, that only we can do. It's not that we can act independently other than God. It was just God's desire to see, to smell. So it is possible for us to see and smell. And so if we think, even if we think that we want to act differently, we are independent, we are ourselves, we want to be God, we cannot be that. If we want to, if someone claims that he is God, he should be able to create maybe create universe, stop old age and death, but nobody can do that. So no one should claim for being God or being one with the God. People with less intelligence often think that they are one with the God and some such things. But actually in this Srimad Bhagavatam, it is clearly mentioned that before we read about it, Adi Dhaivik, Adhyatmic and Adi Bhautik, and they are all independent. They are all dependent on each other, and ultimately three of them, they are dependent on Lord, and that is Adi Yajna. Ultimately, all three of them have to do service to the Lord. That is the ultimate nature of the conditioned soul, to serve the Lord. But what happens due to material condition and illusion? Conditioned souls don't want to serve anything. We don't accept this idea of to be served to anyone. We don't accept that, but ultimately, actually, that is the nature of the soul. And once we start serving the soul, supreme soul, then only our soul gets satisfied. That is the happily blessed. That is the ultimate nature of the conditioned souls, to serve the Lord. Then only we can be happy. It's for example, if we are eating food or whatever we are doing, that is all for our body and under the material consciousness, but we are not doing anything for the soul. How to feed the soul? So we feed soul by serving Lord. So once soul gets satisfied, then only we feel the eternal bliss. And so again, so this text was about the senses, or senses, smelling sense, or nostrils and all. And now text 21, yadatmani nirlokam atmanam cha dhikshyatah nirbhini hai akshini tasya jyotish chakshur guna graha. Translation: thus, when everything existed in darkness, the Lord desired to see himself and all that was created. The eyes, the illuminating God sun, the power of vision, and the object of sight all became manifested. The universe is by nature dense darkness, and therefore the total creation of is called tamas or darkness. The night is the real feature of the universe, for then one cannot see anything, including oneself. The Lord, out of his causeless mercy, first desired to see himself and all the creation as well, and thus the sun became manifested. The power of vision for all living entities became possible, and the object of vision were also manifested. This means that the whole phenomenal world became visible after the creation of the sun. So in this text 21, it is explained that the universe actually is in the mode of tamas or darkness. No one can see anything in the universe. It is all blackout, all dark. So God, the Lord, out of his causeless mercy, he first he desired to see himself. He wanted to see himself, and he also wanted to see his own created creations. So due to his desire, Lord first created the sun, God's sun, and the power of vision to all the living entities. So it is so again in this text also it is mentioned that it was only God's desire to see. So because Lord wanted to see, so we got the vision to see things. So this is again the causeless mercy of Lord. Text 22. Bhuyamanasya rishibhir atmanas taj jigrasatah karuna cha nirabhidhatam disha shrotam guna graha. By development of the desire of the great sages to know the ears, the power of hearing, the controlling deity of hearing, and the object of hearing became manifested. The great sages desired to hear about the Lord. The great sages desire to hear about the self. Perfect. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, by advancement of knowledge, one should try to know about the Supreme Lord, the Swayam Bhunam of everything. Knowledge does not mean knowledge only by the laws of nature or physical knowledge, which are working by the direction of the Lord. The scientists are eager to hear about the physical laws working in material nature. They are eager to hear through the medium of radio and television about things taking place far from them on other planets. But they should know that the power of hearing and the instruments for hearing were given to them by the Lord for hearing about the self or about the Lord. Unfortunately, the power of hearing is misused in hearing the vibrations of mundane affairs. The great sages were interested in hearing about the Lord through Vedic knowledge and nothing more. This is the beginning of oral reception of knowledge. So, in this text 22, it is mentioned then after once we got ear and once we got eyes and eyes to see and smell and nostrils to smell, then God created at that moment in the process of creation, God created ears basically so that we can hear about the Lord. So that because it is, as we already read in this chapter, this all material creation was done so that we can get liberated and go back to Godhead. So whatever senses we got, let it be smelling senses or eyes or now ears, it was actually manifested to the living entities so that we can hear about the Lord, um, or to see the Lord, or to gain anything spiritual knowledge. So the sages, this is what great sages used to do. They used to hear the knowledge of God. Uh, they used to use their senses of hearing for to hear the knowledge of Vedic about Vedas about the Lord. But today in material, um, during this yoga, what people do, they use the sense of hearing for hearing the materialistic things. They don't use it for actually for what it was given for. Um, so and to get come out of it, to come to what was the actual purpose to get all the senses? It was to gain the liberation. So one has to engage the sense of hearing about the Lord, to come closer to the Lord, so that one should practice the devotional process to know about the Lord. That is the only way to get the liberation. Once we engage all our senses in the process for the Lord, in the Lord's service. Text 23. वस्तुनो मृदु कृष्टिने लघु गर्भ अस्नो स्थितं विग्रहस्तस्य तव निर्भीना तस्यं रोमामही रुभः तरा तंत्रा बाहिर्वस्तस्त्वचा लब्ध गुणो रतः. Translation: when there was a desire to perceive the physical characteristics of matter, such as softness, hardness, warmth, cold, lightness, and heaviness, the background of sensation, the skin pores, the hairs on the body of their controlling deities, the trees, were generated. Within and outside the skin is a covering of air through which sense perception became prominent. Purport: the physical characteristics of matter, such as softness, are subjects of sense perception, and thus physical knowledge is the subject matter of the touch sensation. One can measure the temperature of matter by touching with the hands, and one can measure the weight of an object by lifting it with the hands, and thus estimate its heaviness and lightness. The skin pores, and the hairs on the body are all interdependent with the touch sensation. The air blowing within and outside the skin is also an object of sense perception. This sense perception is also a source of knowledge, and therefore it is suggested here that physical or physiological knowledge is subordinate to the knowledge of the self, as above mentioned. Knowledge of self can expand to the knowledge of phenomena, but physical knowledge cannot lead to the knowledge of the self. There is, however, an intimate relation between the hairs on the body and the vegetation on the body of the earth. The vegetables are nourishment for the skin, both as food and medicine, as stated in the third canto. Tvacha ashraya Vinirbhina Vivesur Dashiriyam Asodhi. So in this text 23, now after creating eyes, ears, and smelling sense, now God has created the Lord has created when He got the desire for the touching touching sensations. Then He created the sense, skin, and touch sensations, so that we can touch the things, and we can feel the weight of anything, whether it is light or heavy. Just by lifting things, we can do it. And again, the part of it is here. These all things are skin, pores. These are all interdependent with the touch sensation. And thus it is, as it is already mentioned, that the knowledge of such knowledge about the self is very, very important, is more beyond than what is the knowledge about the physical things. So it is very vast knowledge about the things which Bhagavatam explains here, about everything. And our bodies depend on the nourishment of vegetables, what we eat as food and medicine. This is how our body depends on it. So this is how actually our body is dependent on the food. But again, this again shows that we are dependent. We are dependent on things. We are dependent on the Lord's mercy. If we wanted to eat food because we want to nourish our body, to grow our body, we need to eat something. But for Lord, it's not the same way. There is no need for Him to eat food. It's just out of mercy He eats food and interacts with devotees. He's independent of everything. Actually, the Lord is independent of everything. It's just for conditioned souls. Like conditioned souls, He interacts with us and He accepts things out of mercy. That's it, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Thank you, Rushali Mataji, for sharing. So, who is in the class? You, me, and Manasi Ganga Mataji?
Yes, I'm here. Prila Rasa and Ruchi. Yeah.
Ruchi Mataji, welcome back.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you. Sorry, I am cooking, so there's noise behind. So I'm going to mute myself and hear today. Yeah, thank you. Rushali Mataji, thank you for the nice class and a nice reminder that we should always depend on the Lord, and we are always dependent on the Lord. We may forget, but it's true.
Thank you, Mataji. Mataji, in this text 22, it is written that once the great sages desired to hear about the Lord, so the sense of hearing got developed. So it was the desire of great sages. So that after that we got the sense of hearing.
Could you repeat that, Mataji? I wasn't sure what you said.
in text 22 it is written in translation, because the sages, great sages, desired to hear about the Lord. This is how we got the sense of hearing developed, for actually to hear about the Lord. So I don't know, I mean, how it is exactly. I was thinking, was it like everywhere it is written, God wanted to see himself, so he created this. But for only for hearing sense, it is written, great sages wanted to hear about Lord. So maybe after that we got hearing sense developed.
That is a very interesting point, how, like you were saying, that that everything started off with a desire of the Lord, and then the sense came, not only to him but to the jiva, but with hearing, like you said, it was the desire of the sages. I would think that his devotees wanted to hear about him, and because of that, the Lord created the hearing apparatus and instruments, and allowed for hearing about the self. And so, and I was also remembering that it said that, oh my gosh, what was that? Oh, here we go. Knowledge of the self, and it's capitalized, so I'm assuming that we're talking about the Lord. Knowledge of the self can expand to the knowledge of phenomena, but physical knowledge cannot lead to the knowledge of the self. And so I was just hearing in a class today that there's 4 forms, this is by Chandramani Swami, that there's 4 forms of sambandha, and sambandha is knowledge, and one form is about the Lord himself. Second is about the jiva. Third is the relationship between the Lord and the jiva, and the fourth is material nature, matter, etc. And so what we're hearing here is that to learn about the Lord can expand the knowledge of of material, our understanding of material nature, matter, etc. But that knowledge doesn't go the other direction. To know about physical knowledge, or to know about matter or material nature, does not lead to knowledge about the self. So as one learns more and more about the Lord, one's understanding about this material world broadens up, because everything is his his expansion. It's coming out all material nature, the jiva, everything's coming from him. So if we learn about the Lord, then we learn about these other areas of sambandha. But but to know about matter, like the scientists, if they were to just learn about matter and try to understand how, about this material world, that is not going to lead them to learn about and understand about the creator of all this. So I found that very interesting. I mean, we knew this, but it was just kind of like just stuck out to me. that the understanding goes like one direction. It's not, from his energies to understanding him, but rather from him to understanding his energies. And so I found that very interesting. And I just wanted to say how, we are totally dependent on him. And it's interesting how, like, when I first started practicing Krishna consciousness, of course I heard that, and it's even taught in Christianity, God's controller, he's in charge of everything. But it's only as my practice increases that I'm really beginning to understand that that it's not just like something being told, but I'm beginning to understand it in my life, how I see God, putting his hand in different things, and so I don't know, I just, and like we keep on hearing, he's independent of everything, and we're dependent. So that's what I'm coming to. It's just this idea that as I practice more, I'm beginning to understand how dependent I am, and especially, I guess, just recently reading these chapters, how every little thing, any of our sense perceptions, it's all dependent upon the Lord. And if he doesn't sanction that we, or any action even, if he doesn't sanction it, then it just does not happen. So I just wanted to say that. And maybe someone else can comment and add to that, just that idea. Maybe even personally, how they're seeing it in their own life. How they're understanding that they're dependent on the Lord, how that they're seeing that increase in their own life.
Yes, Mataji. In fact, I have read one saying like, without the God's will, even a leaf cannot move. It's somewhere in Bible also.
Right. I'm just thinking of how complex this system of his is, but just think of how many people, how many, cats there are, how many dogs there are, just in our own city, or, this world, or this universe. And then there's multiple universes. And his system is just so complex. Wow. And what baffles me is he, with all this complexity and all this this power that is wielded, within his hand, how he interacts with, like, the gopis and the gopas, and so lovingly, and even in our own lives, although we don't see him physically present before us, but he offers, if we really want to see, we can see that he is present in our life through our chanting, and just like seeing things maneuver within our own lives, and just understand behind it. It just baffles me that he just wields so much power, and then he, at the very same time, he is so loving, and so caring. Just bizarre. Just like, I could sit and think about that for hours. Just
Yeah.
it's such a beautiful thought, actually, just to think that, like, in our own lives, of course we think, oh, my mother or my husband or my daughter or whatever, they love me, but to think that God so loved us, and like in Christianity, there's a beautiful saying, God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, and it goes on and on. But it's just, he just loves. He's just so full of love, and I just can't wait to get to the point where I can purely serve him and just bask in the love that goes back and forth between his devotees and himself.
Yes, yeah. In fact, this is what I heard. I mean, we take life after life. Every life, we get different relations and, different mother, different, I mean, depends on our body also, what body we get. But the relationship, what our relationship we have with God, that is eternal and that never changes.
Right.
That is the ultimate he's the ultimate father and mother of all the living entities.
Yeah, with every single one. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's just so big. It's just big.
Yeah. The links you sent to me, I was hearing that. In fact, it is said in those links also, like however the sages reaches to any how much we can grow spiritually and we can reach to some things, but reaching up to that high level also we cannot know who God is. It is so vast. It's very only through devotional things, only the one who starts serving Lord can know him and start feeling it was given there. Even the sages performing meditations, they may gain some mystic powers. They even don't know who Lord is.
But I'm going to have to interject and say that that we can. It's I think that those comments like that are not to discourage us and to deter us from wanting to know him. I think that what it is it's just showing us how much we need to move forward to get to a point. But I truly believe that when Srila Prabhupada says that we can go back home, maybe it's not this life, but we can. That path is open. That we can end up in the spiritual world, but it will take, for me, many, 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 many lives to do that. But I feel confident that it's available. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, Mataji, how I took this point when I heard it, I felt it like they are saying about the yogis, those who do meditation, but they are not devotees of Lord.
Yeah, right. Okay.
So only the devotees of Lord can know him. No other, even if anyone gets mystic powers, there are people who gain mystic powers by doing yoga, meditations and things, but they cannot get to know by doing such things also, higher level of meditations also. They cannot get to know who God is, who the Lord is. Only the devotees of Lord can know about him, and ultimately, as you said, now go back to Godhead.
Because what's the impersonalist goal? The impersonalist goal is to merge into his very neutral, Brahman. It's not to know him as a person and to serve him as a person. And only when you serve someone, you're really going to have much of a relationship. Like, I mean, just think, Prabhupada says it's only through service that you will have a relationship. I'm just thinking like as a teacher, I serve my students. I know my students because I serve them. Like I'm always attentive to who they are, what they need, how I can facilitate that. And the students in the next class over, who I do not serve, I do not know them. And so it's kind of like, it's only through service that we can truly know the Lord.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, Mother.
And the impersonalists they don't have that desire. They do not have that goal to serve the Lord. They want to be free of material misery. They want to be free of, and that's what they're going to do. When they merge, they're free of that, but it's not getting them to the higher platform of serving and knowing and loving the Lord. It's just freeing them up of what they don't want. It's not like a positive thing. It's like more of a negative thing where they're not getting the misery, as opposed to a devotee is looking for something positive. He's looking to serve, and he's looking for that relationship. He's looking for the love.
Yeah.
Not getting misery. It's like there's a big difference. I mean, when one serves and one has a relationship with the Lord, they're not going to have that misery, but they have so much more.
Yeah, because going to the higher planets also, this is what, because we were reading Bhagavad Gita also, it is given there. Even if we are doing good deeds, we may go to higher planets, but then again we have to come back. That is not the permanent solution of anything.
Right.
So even if we are doing bad karmas, or even if we are doing good karmas, that is again generating our karmas. So we don't have to do bad or good karmas. We have to do whatever we are doing. We have to actually do it with the consciousness of God, so that we don't generate any good or bad karma or go down to the planets or up planets. We don't want any of that.
Because what that does is just stall one's ability to get to the spiritual planet and serve the Lord face to face. Yeah.
Yeah. Because going to the higher planets also, it's not the ultimate solution. We may get better bodies, we may get better things, but once the good karmas are, it's like assets. Once that assets are finished, or we may have to come back down on the earth. So ultimately, so going back to the Godhead is the only solution.
Yeah. Right. Nice. Ruchi Mataji, come join us. What do you have to say? I'm kind of worried about what we're going to do about that. Or Uncle Martin on Uncle Martin and steal Uncle Martin off. I might just leave walls that ask on Gigi what on Gigi wants. But I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. I mean,
Also in this text, Mataji, here is some Sanskrit, and at the ending of text 23, Sanskrit line, but I could not understand it, and it is mentioned, it's in the 3rd canto.
Okay, so the vegetables are not okay. So what we can always do, Mataji, if you have the internet, you can actually. A lot of times, I will just type that in if I want to know what it is, and then type those words in, and then what comes up is a list, and you want to pick something that is, ISKCON related, so that we get a good understanding of what it might mean. Like it might say Srimad Bhagavatam or something like that. Or you can go into database and type that in under the search button. So I'll just do it right now. TV, while you talk with, why don't you try to engage one of the Matajis while I type this in for you?
Well, I just mentioned it, and she said,
I think in Vedabase I should have checked. I directly typed in Google, but didn't. I typed only first two letters, but didn't find exactly matching to it. Maybe in Vedabase. Maybe in Vedabase. I didn't try it in Vedabase, so maybe in Vedabase I should have tried. Or I can, we can check it and discuss in next class.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you had anything else you wanted to say, or if you wanted to end.
I'm good, Mataji. I think we can end here.
Okay. Okay, Mataji, thank you so much for a very nice class. It's very nice hearing you read and speak and talk about the Lord and our dependence. on him. Thank you so much, Mataji.
Thank you, Rushali Mataji and Manasi Ganga Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji.
So we will meet tomorrow. That's the plan, right?
Yes, you're reading
I will
tomorrow,
meet
Mataji.
Yeah.
Yeah, Leela Manjari. Yeah.
Yeah. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare
Srila
Krishna.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.